ticking clock.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Hanging Out with Chops. This is your host, Choppy Chops, a recording engineer by trade. So glad to see so many of y'all here. Like always, to all you returning listeners, thank you so much, guys, for coming back for another round. And to all you here for the first time, guys, thank you for joining us. This is a wonderful community of engineers, music enthusiasts, and just people that enjoy life. All right, guys, this brings us to our final podcast of this series. I decided to call this one Everything Else. Now, a lot of what we're going to discuss is not necessarily the responsibility of the engineer or the person recording the album, but I do see a lot of this happening alongside with the creation of the album. So up to this point, we've covered pre-production, everything that happens before you ever get here. Production, everything you do while you're here, all the recording, all that good stuff. Editing, choosing your best takes, and then of course those heavy talks like we discussed about time alignment and pitch correction and all that good stuff. And then down to everyone's favorite part, mixing and mastering. But now we're going to get to everything else. This is the best way I can call it. So here you go, guys. Let's wrap up the album and let's cross our T's and dot all our I's. And let's get into it. Here we go.
We're hanging out with Chops. Time just never stops. Answers fade like drops on a broken ticking clock.
Now, some of you out there might be wondering, well, what else is there? We already planned the album and we recorded it, and it's done. Yeah, it's done, but we're not done. Now, I don't have these numbered, but I would say probably our first focus would be, all right, guys, where is this headed? What are we doing? Are we going for digital distribution? And if so, who are we going with? Are we shooting for Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, some of them, all of them? Are we doing tangible stuff? Are we doing CDs? Now, are we doing vinyl? Vinyl is actually gaining popularity right now. So on stuff like this is not the point of the album where you start looking into this. This should have been happening alongside album creation. Where is this going to be? Or are you even going to sell it? Some people don't sell it. Some people give it away for free. They're not trying to make a buck. They're just trying to gain popularity to get more people to the shows. So that's another decision you'd have to make. But once you decide that, hey, if we are going to post it for sale through digital distribution, what's it going to cost? What's the turnaround? Is it instant? Does it take a day? Does it take a week? If you're going to go with tangible items, CDs, vinyls, thumb drives, what's a turnaround on that? And if you do that, shipping costs. It's another thing to consider. Hey, ordering 1,000 CDs, the shipping on that is not cheap. Same thing with vinyl. Vinyl shipping back and forth is not cheap. Plus a turnaround. Vinyl is not quick by any means. If I hand you the master today, you're not going to get that vinyl pressing back for at least a month, maybe even longer. All this needs to be taken into consideration before the album is done. What you want is a clean handoff into the next phase of where the album is going. You don't want to be working your tail off, getting to the end of the album, and then the project parks because you haven't decided where it's going to go at this point. All this needs to be figured out while the album's being created, or even better, before the album's even created. All right, which brings me to my next point. All the legal stuff. Again, not necessarily the job of the engineer. Sometimes I will bring it up from time to time, but these things do need to get covered. Guys, are the songs copywritten? And then we might get into the discussion, well, does it really need to be copywritten? Yes. You copyright your material because you're asking for the protection of the law should someone try to take it from you. Do it, guys. It doesn't take very long. It used to take weeks or months to get stuff copywritten. Now it's actually pretty fast. But do it. Pay what you gotta pay to get the stuff copywritten. Get it done. And now you don't gotta worry about it no more. Publishing. If you're a new band, again, I'm not a legal person. By no way is this legal advice. But if you're a new starting band and you don't have any publishing and you're paying for everything yourself, I would probably consider one of you or the whole band be the publishers. Join BMI. Join ASCAP. Probably BMI would be the easier one to join. Pay your dues. I think they're like $150, maybe $200. And now you can self-publish your album. It's great if you could self-publish your own album, especially as a starting band. Hey, that's a big chunk of the pie you're not giving away. But if you're not, and you're with a big label, the odds are it probably will get published through the label. But still, copywriting and publishing at some point will have to be addressed. If you're doing any kind of cover songs, whether you're doing the entire song or you're doing a portion of the song, at some point you will have to at some point acquire the rights to do that song. I hope I put that in the right terminology. So at some point, if you're doing a cover song, you probably have to find the original writers. Maybe go to like a Harry Fox agency and maybe lease the rights to do that song. It'll usually go by you kind of prepay. So you will want to look into that because there also will be a fee attached to that. Also along with that will be any kind of sample clearing. If you're doing any kind of samples, in other words, you're actually pulling off someone else's masterwork, even if it's just a few seconds, and you're using it in your album, you have to get those samples cleared. Okay, so recap. Copyright, get it done. Publishing, make sure it's addressed, whether the label is doing it or you're going to publish on your own. Obtaining rights to any kind of cover song you're doing and clearing all your samples. All right, guys, moving on. Now, again, going back to kind of legal and financial stuff. Now, again, I'm not a legal person, but I do see this a lot here. Now, depending on how the band is set up, whether the band is an LLC or a sole proprietorship, it all depends on who they're like. Maybe you don't have a manager, or maybe you do have a manager, or maybe they do handle every expense towards making this album would probably need to be reported because it's an expense and you would probably get some of this back. So my number one advice for this, even though I'm not, again, I must press, I'm not a tax expert, but turn in your receipts or at least save them. But if your tour manager is the guy who handles the taxes as far as the band goes, if you gas up to get here, turn in that receipt or turn in a copy of that receipt. If you all go and eat, turn in that receipt. If you go buy sticks, if you go buy strings, if you go buy drum heads, turn in that receipt. If you get a session player to play on your album, you get a receipt from him and you turn that in. It will get involved, especially if there's a lot of session players and everything is legit. There'll be like 1099 forms and stuff that you'll be passing back and forth. But these are things that have to get done. I know a lot of you are probably rolling your eyes, but if you want to do this the right way, at the end of this, your tax guy is going to want to have receipts for everything. Every session that was paid for, every piece of gear that was either rented or bought to make the album, any kind of master equipment that was used, whether it's reel-to-reel, drives, all that good stuff. Keep all your receipts. turn it in, because at the end of the year, when taxes comes around, you can turn that all in to get some of your finances handled, because it's the best way to say it. Woo! Well, that was boring and insightful, but we did have to cover it. Well, we need a name. We need an actual name for the album. Some guys may cop out and just call it, hey, number 1 or number 2. But it would be nice to get a name for the entire album. You know, it may sound simple, but it's not. Because that name is going to live with the record forever. It's going to be on streaming platforms. It'll probably be on the artwork. It's going to be on venue posters and tour posters and gig posters. It's probably going to be on merch. People are going to say that name. Other people are going to search it. Hopefully they'll remember the name of it. But it can't be just any random name. The name has to feel right. It has to represent the entire project, not just one song. You want it to represent the whole body of work. But before people ever hear your music, they see it. The artwork, the photos, the vibe, I'm air quoting. The visual identity sets the expectation. It tells people what the record feels like before they ever press play. And it all needs to connect. It all needs to feel like one cohesive unit. So one thing I do see here, and I see it with some of the larger bands, is when they're recording and kind of coming towards the end of the album, they have a tour concept. Whether it's a specific color that everything's going to reflect. Like this album's going to be purple and white, or this album's going to be, white and black. Or it's going to be a blinged out tour, whatever. There's some theme that goes along with the album, and it'll usually extend out into the tour. This is a concept that they try to decide on before it's over, because it's all going to connect. It's going to connect to the t-shirts that they sell for merch, the bumper stickers, the keychains, the koozies, whatever it is that they sell to make additional money. All those ideas and concepts are probably going to come from this point. So it's important that all that be done right now. Now, also tying in with the tour, tying in with promoting and playing this new album live would be backing tracks. If you use them, you're probably going to have to figure out how to perform these new songs live. Because what works in the studio doesn't really translate directly to the stage. Now, what are the backing tracks for? It's going to be for all that extra stuff that you put in. All the extra guitars, all the extra keyboard tracks, all the extra background vocals, all the sound effects. If you want it to sound live like it does on the recording, and you wind up using 150 tracks, and there's 5 dudes in the band, the odds are you're going to be playing a more streamlined version of that song. But if you want to include everything that's on the album, now is the time to create backing tracks. You might want to take another day or two, maybe even a week. Hey guys, we need backing tracks for the whole album. And it gets pretty involved. Some guys want the entire session and they just play along with it. They mute parts what they need and they unmute other parts. Some guys will just take a stereo mix of everything that's needed besides the band, and they'll jam along with that. Now here's something that I think gets overlooked a lot: the archiving. If the band paid for the record, technically the record belongs to them. In my opinion, they should leave the studio with everything. Not just the final mixes, every single thing, every take, every session, every version. Because years from now, they may want to remix it. They may want to remaster it. They may want to re-release it. And if those files are gone, the opportunity will be gone too. This is their history, and it needs to be preserved. So whether you take it on hard drives, or you upload it to the cloud, or you have all kinds of backups. I'm not saying, hey, if the studio offers you a courtesy of storing it here or storing it within their systems or their archives, cool. But by no means should that be the only archives. You should have copies and copies and copies of them, because stuff happens. Floods happen, fires happen, robberies happen. It'd be a good idea to also do photography and video work alongside the record creation. What you don't want to do is get to a certain part of the process and then have to stop because you're waiting to get to the next section. You don't want to finish the album and then be like, okay, now let's go hunt for a location to shoot our video. Or we're done with the mix and the mastering, but you're barely now thinking about what the album cover should look like, or wardrobe, or photos, or press packets. All that should be while the album is being created. That way there's smooth handoffs from one stage of creation to the next stage of release, to the next stage of distribution. You want it to run smoothly so that there is no interruption. The release party. It's more than just a show. This is the moment the record meets the world. This is the moment the record meets the fans. The first time they hear it live as a finished project. You're probably going to want to have cameras there. You're going to want to have your friends, fans, industry people, because that moment sets the tone for everything that follows. That's when music stops being yours and it starts to belong to everyone else. Oh man, I guess one last point I want to make. And here's something I've noticed about successful artists. They never leave this recording cycle we're talking about. A lot of bands think, we've made a record, release it, and then let's take a break. But the bands that last, they don't do that. As soon as the album is finished, they start all over again. Writing, pre-production, recording, editing, mixing, mastering, release, writing, pre-production, recording, editing, mixing, mastering, release, writing, pre-production. You see what I'm saying? For them, it's an endless cycle. It leads to 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 albums. As soon as they finish, it's right back to the top. That's how you build a career, not just one record and then you kind of end the cycle. It's like a fire, man. Once you start the fire, you keep fanning the flames, and you keep feeding the fire. You keep adding more stuff to burn, more wood. That's how you keep the recording cycle going. You stay relevant. At the end of all this, you realize something. You didn't just make a record. You created something that now exists in the world. Something people will hear. Something people will remember. Something they're gonna connect with. Guys, there's a lot of albums out there that as soon as I hear that album, it takes me right back to those particular years in my life. Your album will do that to people. They might hear it 20, 30 years from now and remember this week in their life. Maybe this is the only album the band will ever make. Maybe it's one of many. But every album deserves the same care. And of course, once it leaves the studio, once it leaves my hands, your hands, it becomes part of history. And that's our job. Our job is to give it the best chance to live. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up. If this had been a conversation on a flight or a conversation in a tour bus, this is where we'd be landing. And the talk would be over and you'd probably be tired of me talking. Hey guys, but I had a blast covering all this stuff for you, with you. I'm sure there'll probably be other stuff later on that'll be like, hey, I should have mentioned this and maybe I should have mentioned that. But this is from my eyes what I see it takes to create a well-made album. Guys, like always, if you enjoy the show, please help us keep the ball rolling. There is a support the podcast button at the very front of this podcast. If so inclined, you can give $3 or $300,000 million. Every dollar goes to keeping the podcast going. Guys, I had a blast. We got some good ones coming up. I've been working on the next couple of podcasts already as far as ideas, and we're going to break this series for a bit and do some single episodes, but they're going to be good. So come on back, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.
We're hanging out with chops. Time just never stops. Answers fade like drops on a broken ticking clock.